Cycling through the suit of discs in the Thoth Tarot. Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight. Thank you for joining me today. And today we continue working through the Thoth Tarot. And today we will be cycling through the suit of discs. So this video is to be used as a meditative aid, or anytime someone would like to cycle through the discs, the same as the suit of pentacles or coins, the element of earth and the tarot can use this video. For now, this is Patreon only. So for this, you'll need the Thoth Tarot deck and also the Book of Thoth. And what you're going to need to do is pause the video and take out the disc suit and put them in order. So the Ace of Discs on the bottom, then the Two of Discs, the Three of Discs, on up to 10, and then the Knight, Queen, Prince, and Princess. So you should have 14 cards here, and we are going to cycle through the tarot together. So, without further ado, here we go, y'all. All right. We're starting off with the aces in general, and then we'll look at the Ace of Discs in particular. So, in the Book of Thoth, we go to page 177. The aces. The aces represent the roots, so take out the Ace of Discs. Take out the Ace of Discs, and then we're going to work through this together. So the aces represent the roots of the four elements. They are quite above and distinct from the other small cards, in the same way as Keter is said to be symbolized only by the topmost point of the Yod of Tetragrammaton. And these cards is no real manifestation of the element in its material form. They form a link between the small cards and the princesses, who rule the heavens around the North Pole. The meridian is the Great Pyramid, and the elements rule going eastward in the order of Tetragrammaton: fire, water, air, earth. Thus, roughly, aces, princesses, wands cover Asia, cups the Pacific Ocean, swords the Americas, discs Europe and Africa. To make this relationship clear, one may go a little into the symbol of the pentagram or shield of David. It represents spirit ruling the four elements and is thus a symbol of the triumph of man. The idea of the element of spirit is very difficult to grasp. The letter Shin, which is the letter of fire, has to do double duty by representing spirit as well. Generally speaking, the attributions of spirit are not clear and simple like those of the other elements. It is very remarkable that the tablet of spirit in the Enochian system is the key to all mischief, as in the Hindu system Akasha is the egg of darkness. On the other hand, spirit represents Keter. Perhaps it was never in the mind of the exempt adept or adepts who invented the tarot to go so far into this matter. The point to remember is that, both in their appearance and in their meaning, the aces are not the elements themselves, but the seeds of those elements. Now we go to the Ace of Discs in particular. On page 209. The Ace of Discs. The Ace of Discs pictures the entry of that type of energy which is called Earth. It is here proper to insist a little strongly upon one of the essential theoretical theses which have inflamed the constitution of this present pack of tarot cards. For this feature is significant and distinguishes it from the numerous crude efforts of uninitiates to put themselves forward as adepts. The grotesque barber Aliette, the obscurely perverse Worth, the poseur fumiste peladon, down to the verbose ignorance of such autocolous quacks as Rafalovich and Ouspensky. None of these or their kin have done more than play the sedulous ape to the conventional medieval designs. Their luck was out. The tarot is a razor. Eliphas Levi was a master scholar and knew the true attributions, but his grade in the Great White Brotherhood was only an adeptus major, and he had no instructed foresight of the new eon. He did indeed hope to find a Messiah in Napoleon III, but of the complete spiritual upheaval which accompanies the proclamation of a new magical formula he had no glimpse, no, not though he had Maester Alcofibras Nacier to guide him. The footnote. See the Grand Annales ou Chronique très véritable des Fils, Roi de Dispode, 1542, Book 1, Chapter 58, where is given not only a remarkable description of the social conditions of the 20th century era vulgaris, but even in the last line of the prophetic riddle, a clear indication of the magical motto of the adept chosen by the masters to announce this formula. This word openly given in the name of the abbey itself. But, as so often is the case, it was too simple and straightforward to be seen. Back to the text. Dr. Gerard Encausse, Papou, who followed Eliphas Levi, felt himself even more closely bound by his oath of secrecy, so that his dealings with the tarot are worthless, and that although he was Grand Master of the OTO in France and Grand Hierophant 97th degree of the Rite of Memphis on the death of John Yarker, these historical data are necessary to explain why all previous pacts are of little more than archaeological interest, for the new eon demanded a new system of symbolism. Thus, in particular, the old conception of the earth as a passive, immobile, even dead, even evil element had to go. It was imperative to restore the king-scale color attribution to that of the eon of Isis, emerald green, as was understood by the Egyptian hierophants. This green is, however, not the original vegetable green of Isis, but the new green of spring following the resurrection of Osiris as Horus. Nor are the discs any more to be considered as coins. The disc is a whirling emblem, naturally so, since it is now known that every star, every true planet is a whirling sphere. The atom, again, is no more the hard, intractable, dead particle of Dalton, but a system of whirling forces, comparable to the solar hierarchy itself. This thesis dovetails perfectly with the new doctrine of Tetragrammaton, where the earthy component, he final, the daughter, is set upon the throne of the mother to awaken the eld of the All-Father. The name itself, accordingly, is no longer a fixed symbol, emblem of extension and limit, but of a continuously revolving sphere, and the words of Zoroaster, rebounding, whirling forth, crying aloud. It has been the custom of publishers or designers of pacts to set their personal seal upon the ace of discs for grammatical reasons not unconnected with the perhaps arbitrary differentiation in the Latin language between the pronouns meum and tum. Saith not the bard, "Steal not this book for fear of shame, the ace of discs, the author's name. The ace of swords, thy corpse shall look, like Agag's did in Samuel's book. The ace of cups, drink thou no less than Brinvilliers, the Marchioness. The ace of wands, thy death be reckoned, like that of a good King Edward II. The second symbol of the ace of discs, the central symbol of the ace of discs is consequently the personal hieroglyph of the chosen priest and apostle of infinite space, the prince, priest, the beast. This is to be compared with the sigillum sanctum of the order of AA. And the center of all is yet another form of tetragrammaton, the phallus, showing Sol and Luna, with the number 666 duly inscribed, as if to equilibrate, to fit into the vesica, with the 7 sevens adding to 156, Babylon, as the magic square of 6 adds to 666, Tomegatherion. Should one choose to interpret the vertical line above 666 as 1 and add it, the number of the Scarlet Woman 667 appears. E kokine gune. I know I'm butchering this stuff. This cipher is enclosed in a heptagram, as manifestly needful, and this figure again an interlaced pentagons, whose sides are extended, so forming a wheel of 10 spokes, whose boundary is a decagon, and this again within a circular band, upon which is inscribed in full the name Tomegatherion, of 12, that's 6 times 2 letters. About this whirling disk are its 6 wings. The entire symbol is not only a glyph of earth, as understood in this new eon of Horus, but of the number 6, the number of the sun. This card is thus an affirmation of the identity of Sol and Terra, and that will be best understood by those who have punctually practiced Liber Resh for the necessary number of years, preferably in such hermitages as those of the Sahara Desert, where the sun and the earth can soon be instinctively recognized as living beings, one's constant companions in a universe of pure joy. All right. Now we go to the 2 of discs, change, which is Chokmah in the suit of earth, and the deacon is Jupiter in Capricorn. First, we're going to look at the 2s in general. Page 177. The 2s. These cards refer to Chokmah. From the point of view of the ordinary person, Chokmah is really number 1 and not number 2, because he is the first manifestation. Keter is completely concealed, so that nobody knows anything about it at all. Hence, only on reaching the deuces does an element appear as the element itself. Chokmah is uncontaminated by any influence. Therefore, the elements here appear in their original harmonious condition. The 2 of Pentacles was of old time called the Lord of Harmonious Change, now more simply change. And here the doctrine must be stated a little more clearly. This suit being of earth, there is a connection with the princesses, and therefore with the final head of Tetragrammaton. Earth is the throne of spirit. Having got to the bottom, one immediately comes out again at the top. Hence the card manifests the symbolism of the serpent of the endless band. Now we go to the 2 of discs in particular, change, on page 212. The number 2, Chokmah, here rules in the suit pertaining to earth. It shows the type of energy appropriate to 2, in its most fixed form. According to the doctrine that change is the support of stability, the card is called change. Its celestial rulers are Jupiter and Capricornus, and these symbols are most inharmonious, so that in practical matters the good fortune of Jupiter is very limited. Their influence on the card is not great, yet Jupiter being himself the wheel, Atu 10, he emphasizes that idea. The card represents 2 pentacles, one above the other. They are the Chinese symbols of the yang and yin, duplicated as in the xiang. One wheel is dextro and the other livo rotary. They thus represent the harmonious interplay of the 4 elements in constant movement. One may in fact consider the card as the picture of the complete manifested universe, in respect of its dynamics. About them is entwined a green serpent. See Liber 65, chapter 3, verses 17 through 20. His tail is in his mouth. He forms the figure 8, the symbol of the infinite, the equation 0 equals 2. And I have here written down that quote from Liber 65. Then I beheld myself compassed about with the infinite circle of emerald, that encloseth the universe. O snake of emerald, thou hast no time past, no time to come. Verily thou art not. Thou art delicious beyond all taste and touch. Thou art not to be beheld for glory. Thy voice is beyond speech, and the silence, and the speech therein. And thy perfume is of pure ambergris, that is not weighed against the finest gold of the finest gold. Also thy coils are of infinite range. The heart that thou dost encircle is an universal heart. Now we go to the three of discs, works, which is Binah in the suit of earth, and the deacon is Mars in Capricorn. Looking at the threes in general, page 178. The threes. These cards are referred to Binah. In each of them is expressed the symbolism of understanding. The idea has become fertilized. The triangle has been formulated. In each case, the idea is of a certain stability that can never be upset, but from which a child can issue. The Three of Pentacles exhibits the result of the idea of earth, of the crystallization of forces. And so the Three of Pentacles is called the Lord of Work. Something has definitely been done. The Three of Discs in particular, on the bottom of page 212, work, the Three of Discs. The influence of Binah in the sphere of earth shows the material establishment of the idea of the universe, the determination of its basic form. It is ruled by Mars and Capricornus. He is exalted in that sign, and therefore it is best. His energy is constructive, like that of the builder or engineer. The card represents a pyramid viewed from above the apex. The base is formed by three wheels: Mercury, sulfur, and salt, Sattvas, Rajas, and Tamas. Air, Aleph, Sheen, and Mem. Air, fire, and water, the three mother letters of the Hebrew alphabet. This period is situated in the great sea of Binah in the night of time, but the sea is solidified, hence the colors of the background are mottled, a cold, thin, dark gray with a pattern of indigo and green. The sides of the pyramid have a strong reddish tint, showing the influence of Mars. We now get out the Four of Discs, power. That is Chesed in the suit of earth. The deacon is the sun in Capricorn. Looking at the fours in general, page 179. These cards are attributed to Chesed. The connection between the number 4 and the number 3 is extremely complex. The important characteristic is that 4 is below the abyss. Therefore, in practice, it means solidification, materialization. Things have become manifest. The essential point is that it expresses the rule of law. As to the disc, the heaviness of the symbol rather outweighs any considerations of its weakness. The card is called power. It is the power which dominates and stabilizes everything, but manages its affairs more by negotiation, by pacific methods, than by any assertion of itself. It is law, the Constitution, with no aggressive element. The Four of Discs in particular, on page 213, power. The four of discs. The four, chesed, shows the establishment of the universe in three dimensions, that is, below the abyss. The generating idea is exhibited in its full material sense. The card is ruled by the sun in Capricornus, the sign in which he is reborn. The discs are very large and solid. The suggestion of the card is that of a fortress. This represents law and order, maintained by constant authority and vigilance. The discs themselves are square. Revolution is very opposite to the card. And they contain the signs of the four elements. For all that, they revolve. Defense is valid only when violently active. So far as it appears stationary, it is the dead center of the engineer. And Capricornus is the point at which the sun turns again northward. The background is of deep azure, flecked yellow, suggesting a moat. But beyond this is a pattern of green and indigo to represent the guarded fields whose security is assured by the fortress. In the I Ching, Sol in Capricornus is represented by the second hexagram Quan, which is the female principle. Compare the English word queen, Anglo-Saxon quin, Old Mercian quin, cognate or Icelandic kvan, Gothic quins, woman. The Indo-Germanic type is Gwenny, and the Sanskrit root Gwen. Note also kum, comb, and agnate words, meaning an enclosed valley, usually with water running from it. Womb, possibly a softened form. Compare also the innumerable words derived from the root kas, which imply an enclosed and fortified space. Case, castle, chest, cyst, chaste, incest, and so on. The primary radical in all this class of words is the guttural. Observe the Hebrew attributions: Gimel, the moon; Chet, Cancer, the house of the moon; Kaf, the wheel; Kof, the moon. 18. Gutter, the throat. Sound so made suggests the other throat. One is the channel of respiration and nutrition, the other of reproduction and elimination. We now get out the five of discs. Worry, and that is Gebra in the suit of earth. The deacon is Mercury in Taurus. Looking at the fives in general on page 180. In the Naples arrangement, the introduction of the number 5 shows the idea of motion coming to the aid of that of matter. This is quite a revolutionary conception. The result is a complete upset of the statically stabilized system. Now appear storm and stress. This must not be regarded as something evil. The natural feeling about it is really a little more than the reluctance of people to get up from lunch and go back to the job. In the Buddhist doctrine of sorrow, this idea is implicit, that inertia and insensitiveness must characterize peace. The climate of India is perhaps partly responsible for this notion. The adepts of the white school, of which the tarot is the sacred book, cannot agree to such a simplification of existence. Every phenomenon is a sacrament. For all that, a disturbance is a disturbance. The five of discs is an equally evil case. The soft quiet of the four has been completely overthrown. The card is called worry. See Skeet, etymological dictionary. The ideas of strangling, as dogs worry sheep. Note the identity with Sphinx. The economic system has broken down. There is no more balance between the social orders. Discs, being as they are stolid and obstinate as compared with the other weapons, for their revolution serves to stabilize them. There is no action, at least not in its own ambit, that can affect the issue. the 5 of discs in particular, page 214. Worry, the 5 of discs. The number 5, Gebra, in the suit of Earth, shows the disruption of the elements, just as in the other suits. This is emphasized by the rule of Mercury and Taurus, types of energy which are opposed. It needs a very powerful Mercury to upset Taurus. So the natural meaning is intelligence applied to labor. The symbol represents 5 discs in the form of the inverted pentagram, instability in the very foundations of matter. The effect is that of an earthquake. They are, however, representative of the 5 tattvas. These hold together on a very low plane, an organism which would otherwise disrupt completely. The background is an angry, ugly red with yellow markings. The general effect is one of intense strain, yet the symbol implies long-continued inaction. We now get out the 6 of discs, success, which is Tiferet in the suit of Earth. The deacon is the moon in Taurus. Looking at the 6s in general on page 181, the 6s. These cards are attributed to Tiferet. This Sephira is in some respects the most important of all. It is the center of the whole system. It is the only Sephira below the abyss which communicates directly with Keter. It is fed directly from Chokmah and Binah, also from Chesed and Gebra. It is thus admirably fitted to dominate the lower Sephirot. It is balanced both vertically and horizontally. In the planetary system, it represents the Sun, S-U-N. In the system of Tetragrammaton, it represents the Sun, S-O-N. The entire geometrical complex of the Ruach may be regarded as an expansion from Tiferet. It represents consciousness in its most harmonized and balanced form. Definitely in form, not only in idea, as in the case of the number 2. In other words, the Sun is an interpretation of the Father in terms of the mind. The 4 6s are thus representative of their respective elements at their practical best. The 6 of discs is called success. The ruler is the moon. This is a card of settling down. It is very heavy, wholly lacking in imagination, yet somewhat dreamy. Change is soon coming upon it. The weight of earth will ultimately drag the current down to a mere eventuation of material things. Yet the moon being in Taurus, the sign of her exaltation, the best of the lunar qualities are inherent. Moreover, being a 6, the solar energy has fertilized her, creating a balanced system for the time being. The card is worthy of the name success. Remember only that all success is temporary. How brief a halt upon the path of labor. The 6 of discs in particular, the bottom of page 214. Success, the 6 of discs. The number 6, Tiferet, as before, represents the full harmonious establishment of the energy of the elements. The moon in Taurus rules the card. And this, while increasing the approach to perfection, for the moon is exalted in Taurus, and therefore in her highest form, marks that the condition is transient. The discs are arranged in the form of the hexagram, which is shown in skeleton. In the center blushes and glows the light rose matter of dawn, and without are 3 concentric circles, golden yellow, salmon pink, and amber. These colors show Tiferet fully realized on earth. It reaffirms in form what was mathematically set forth in describing the ace. The planets are arranged in accordance with their usual attribution, but they are only shown as discs irradiated by the sun in their center. This sun is idolized as the rose and cross. The rose has 49 petals, the interplay of the 7 with the 7. Now we have the Seven of Discs, failure. Netzach and the suit of Earth, the deacon is Saturn and Taurus. We look at the sevens in general, page 182. The sevens. These cards are attributed to Netzach. The position is doubly unbalanced, off the middle pillar and very low down on the tree. It is taking a very great risk to descend so far into illusion, and above all to do it by frantic struggle. Netzach pertains to Venus. Netzach pertains to Earth. And the greatest catastrophe that can befall Venus is to lose her heavenly origin. The four sevens are not capable of bringing any comfort. Each one represents the degeneration of the element. Its utmost weakness is exposed in every case. The Seven of Discs is called failure. This suit gives the extreme of passivity. There is no positive virtue in it below the abyss. This card is ruled by Saturn. Compare it with the three other sevens. There is no effort here, not even dream. The stake has been thrown down and it is lost. That is all. Labor itself is abandoned. Everything is sunk in sloth. Page 215. Failure, Seven of Discs. The number 7, Netzach, has its customary enfeebling effect, and this is made worse by the influence of Saturn and Taurus. The discs are arranged in the shape of the geomantic figure Rubeus, the most ugly and menacing of the 16. The atmosphere of the card is that of blight. On the background, which represents vegetation and cultivation, everything is spoiled. The four colors of Netzach appear, but they are blotched with angry indigo and reddish orange. The discs themselves are the leaden discs of Saturn. They suggest bad money. We get out the Eight of Discs, prudence. It's hold in the suit of Earth. The deacon is the sun in Virgo. So here we go. All right. Hold on just a second here. All right. So here we go. Page 183. The eights in general. The four eights are attributed to hold, being in the same plane as the sevens on the tree of life, but on the other side, the same inherent defects as are found in the sevens will apply. Yet one may perhaps urge this alleviation, that the eights come as, in a sense, a remedy for the error of the sevens. The mischief has been done, and there is now a reaction against it. One may therefore expect to find that, while there is no possibility of perfection in the cards of this number, they are free from such essential and original errors as in the lower case. The Eight of Discs is called Prudence. This card is a great deal better than the last two because in purely mathematical and purely material matters, especially those relating to actual money, there is a sort of strength in doing nothing at all. The problem of every financier is, first of all, to gain time. If his resources are sufficient, he always beats the market. This is the card of putting something away for a rainy day. Its attribution is Sol in Virgo. It is the card of the husbandman. He can do little more than sow the seed, sit back, and wait for the harvest. There is nothing noble about this aspect of the card. Like all the eights, it represents an element of calculation, and gambling is securely profitable if one is adjusted to Canyote properly. There is yet another point which complicates this card. The Eight of Discs represents the geomantic figure Populus, which is an easygoing figure, and at the same time stable. One thinks of Queen Victoria's time, of a man who is something in the city, rolling up to town with Albert the Good, advertised by his watch chain and his frock coat. On the surface he is very affable, but he is nobody's fool. The Eight of Discs in particular, at the bottom of page 215. Prudence, the Eight of Discs. The number 8, hold, is very helpful in this card because it represents Mercury in his most spiritual aspect, and he both rules and is exalted in the sign of Virgo, which belongs to the deacon and is governed by the sun. It signifies intelligence lovingly applied to material matters, especially those of the agriculturist, the artificer, and the engineer. One might suggest that this card marks the turn of the tide. The Seven of Discs is in one sense the fullest possible establishment of matter. Compare Atu 15. The lowest fallen and therefore the highest exalted. These last three cards seem to prepare the explosion which will renew the whole cycle. Note that Virgo is Yod, the secret seed of life, and also the virgin earth awaiting the phallic plow. The interest of this card is in the interest of the common people. The rulership of the sun in Virgo suggests also birth. The discs are arranged in the form of the geomantic figure populace. These discs may be represented as the flowers or fruits of a great tree, its solid roots in fertile land. The interest of this card is in the interest of the common people. The rulership of the sun in Virgo suggests also birth. The discs are arranged in the form of the geomantic figure populace. These discs may be represented as the flowers or fruits of the great tree, its solid roots in fertile land. In the I Ching, Sol in Virgo is represented by the 33rd hexagram Thun, big air. It means retiring, and the commentary indicates how best to make use of that maneuver. This is congruous enough with the essence of Virgo, the secret withdrawing of energy into the fallow earth. Populous, moreover, is the moon retiring from manifestation to her conjunction with the sun. Now we get out the Nine of Discs, gain. This is Yesod in the suit of earth. The deacon is Venus in Virgo. First we look at the nines in general on page 185. The nines. These cards are attributed to Yesod. After the double excursion into misfortune, the current returns to the middle pillar. This sphere is the seat of the great crystallization of energy, but it takes place very far down the tree, at the apex of the third descending triangle, and a flat triangle at that. There is little help from low, unbalanced spheres like Netzach and Hod. What saves Yesod is the direct ray from Tiferet. This Sephira is in the direct line of succession. Each of these cards gives the full impact of the elemental force, but in its most material sense, that is, of the idea of the force. For Yesod is still in Yetzirah, the formative world. Zoroaster says the number 9 is sacred and attains the summit of perfection. Egypt and Rome also had 9 major deities. The Nine of Discs is called gain. The suit of discs is much too dull to care. It reckons up its winnings. It does not worry its head about whether anything is won when all is won. This card is ruled by Venus. It purrs with satisfaction at having harvested what is sowed. It rubs its hands and sits at ease. As will be understood from the consideration of the tens, there is no reaction against satisfaction as there is in other suits. One becomes more and more stolid and feels that everything is for the best in the best of all possible worlds. We now move to the tens in general. The Ten of Discs. We look at the tens in general first of all. page 187. The tens. These cards are attributed to Malkut. Here is the end of all energy. It is away from the formative world altogether, where things are elastic. There is now no planetary attribution to consider. So far as the Sephira is concerned, it is right down in the world of Asiya. By the mere fact of having devised 4 elements, the current has derogated from the original perfection. The tens are a warning, see whither it leads, to take the first wrong step. The ten of discs is called wealth. Here again is written this constantly recurring doctrine, that as soon as one gets to the bottom, one finds oneself at the top. And wealth is given to Mercury and Virgo. When wealth accumulates beyond a certain point, it must either become completely inert and cease to be wealth, or call in the aid of intelligence to use it rightly. This must necessarily happen in spheres which have nothing whatever to do with material possessions as such. In this way, Carnegie establishes a library. Rockefeller endows research, simply because there is nothing else to do. But all this doctrine lies behind the card. It is the inner meaning of the card. There is another view to consider, that this is the last of all the cards, and therefore represents the sum total of all the work that has been done from the beginning. Therefore, in it is drawn the very figure of the tree of life itself. This card is to the other 35 small cards what the 21st trump, the universe, is to the rest of the trumps. That's the ten of discs. It's Mercury and Virgo. So now let's look at the ten of discs in particular. Page 217, wealth. The ten of discs. The number 10, Malkut, as always, represents the final issue of the energy. Here is great and final solidification. The force is completely expended and results in death. Mercury rules this card in Virgo, and this may imply that the acquired wealth, being inert, will be dissipated unless put to further use by devoting its power to objects other than mere accumulation. The discs, or as they have now become coins, are arranged on the tree of life. But the 10th coin is much larger than the rest. The image indicates the futility of material gain. These discs are inscribed with various symbols of mercurial character, except that the coin in the place of hold, Mercury, on the tree, is marked with the cipher of the sun. This indicates the only possibility of issue from the impasse produced by the exhaustion of all the elemental forces. At the end of the matter must be complete stagnation, were it not that in it is always inherent the will of the Father, the great architect, the great arithmetician, the great geometer. In this case, then, Mercury will represent the Logos, the Word, the Will, the Wisdom, the Eternal Son, and Virgo, the Virgin, and every implication of that symbol. This card is in fact a hieroglyph of the cycle of regeneration. Among the geomantic figures, Mercury and Virgo is conjunctio. The meaning conjunction is shown plainly in the attribution of the descending female triangle, the cipher of the yoni, to the ascending male triangle, that of the lingam. This union completed, they appear imbalanced, forming the figure of Capricornus, which is Carcer, the figure of Capricornus, the sign in which the sun finds his rebirth. It is the holy hexagram, the symbol of the uniting of the macrocosm and the microcosm, the accomplishment of the great work, the summum bonum, true wisdom and perfect happiness. Sic sit vobis. Now we get to the dignitaries. The first one, the Knight of Discs. So first we look at the knights in general. The knights represent the powers of the letter Yod in the name. They are the most sublime, original, active part of the energy of the element. For this reason they are represented on horseback and clad in complete armor. Their action is swift and violent, but transient. In the element of fire, for instance, the night corresponds to the lightning flash, and the element of water to rain and springs, and that of air to wind, and that of earth to mountains. It is very important as a mental exercise to work out for oneself these correspondences between the symbol and the natural forces which they represent, and it is essential in practical magical work to have assimilated this knowledge. All right. So, and the Knight of Dis is fire of earth. It represents mountains, violent pressure due to gravitation. That's on page 286. All right. Now on page 164, the Knight of Discs. The Knight of Discs represents the fiery part of Earth, and refers in particular to the phenomena of mountains, earthquakes, and gravitation. But it also represents the activity of Earth regarded as the producer of life. He rules from the 21st degree of Leo to the 20th degree of Virgo, and is thus concerned greatly with agriculture. This warrior is short and sturdy in type. He is clothed in great solidity of plate armor, but his helmet, which is crested with the head of a stag, is thrown back, for at the moment his function is entirely confined to the production of food. For this reason he is armed with a flail. The disc which he bears, moreover, is very solid. It represents nutrition. These characteristics are borne out by his horse, a shire horse, solidly planted on all 4 feet. But was not the case with the other knights. He rides through the fertile land, even the distant hills are cultivated fields. Those whom he symbolizes tend to be dull, heavy, and preoccupied with material things. They are laborious and patient, but would have little intellectual grasp even of matters which concern them most closely. Their success in these is due to instinct, to imitation of nature. They lack initiative. Their fire is the smoldering fire of the process of growth. If ill-dignified, these people are hopelessly stupid, slavish, and quite incapable of foresight even in their own affairs, or of taking an intellectual interest in anything outside them. They are churlish, surly, and jealous, in a dull sort of way, of what they instinctively realize is the superior state of others. But they have not the courage or intelligence to better themselves. Yet they are always irritably meddling about in petty matters. They interfere with and inevitably spoil whatever comes their way. In the Yi Ching, the fiery part of Earth is represented by the 62nd hexagram Xiao Kuo. This is as important as its complement Kung Fu. See under the Prince of Cups. It is a big con, the trigram of Luna, with each line doubled, but is also suggestive of the geomantic figure conjunctio Mercury and Virgo, corresponding very closely indeed with the fire of earth attribution in the Kabbalistic system. To the Chinese sages, moreover, the shape of the figure gave the idea of a bird. The meaning is accordingly modified by human influence of the more frivolous and irresponsible kind. Shakespeare's little wanton harlotry, the French cynic savant femme verie, and the fickle mob of Coriolanus, indeed, of history itself. But Mercury in Virgo symbolizes intelligence and even creative idea applied to agriculture, and this once more harmonizes perfectly with the Ten of Discs, which is ruled by this planet and this sign. This adds to the superabundant mass of proof that this whole system of symbolism is based upon realities of nature, as understood by the materialist school of science, if such a school survives in some obscure and obsolescent university. Such coherence, such introverted exfoliation cannot be chance parallelism of the dreams of nebulous philosophies. The character described by this card is therefore exceeding complex, yet admirably well knitted, but its dangers are indicated by the symbols of Luna and the bird. In the happiest cases, the qualities thus indicated will be romance and imagination, but overweening ambition, the pursuit of ignis fatu, superstition, and the tendency to waste time in idle dreaming are perils all too frequently found in such sons of the soil. Thomas Hardy has painted many admirable portraits of the type. Ill-starred indeed and black with bile are those who have profaned the sacred fire, not enkindling earth to new, more copious, more varied life, but peering in deceptive moonlight, turning their faces from their Mother Earth. We now get the Queen of Dis. First, we look at the queens in general. Page 150. The queens represent the letter He of the name. They are the complements of the knights. They receive, ferment, and transmit the original energy of their knight. Quick to receive that energy, they are also fitted to endure for the period of their function, but they are not the final product. They represent the second stage in the process of creation, whose fourth and last state is material realization. They are represented as seated upon thrones. This emphasizes the fact that they are appointed to exercise definite functions. If you go to page 286, the queens are water of earth. They represent fields, quiet, spiritualized to bear vegetable and animal life. Because the dignitaries also represent natural forces. So the Queen of Dis, in particular, page 166. The Queen of Dis represents the watery part of earth. The function of that element is mother. She rules the 21st degree of Sagittarius to the 20th degree of Capricornus. She represents passivity, usually in its highest aspect. The Queen of Dis is throned upon the life of vegetation. She contemplates the background, where a calm river winds through a sandy desert to bring it to it fertility. Oases are beginning to show themselves amid the wastes. Before her stands a goat upon a sphere. There is here a reference to the dogma that the great work is fertility. Her armor is composed of small scales or coins, and her helmet is adorned with the great spiral horns of the Markor. In her right hand she bears a scepter surmounted by a cube, within which is a three-dimensional hexagram, and in her left arm is curved her proper disc, a sphere of loops and circles interlaced. She thus represents the ambition of matter to take part in the work of creation. Persons signified by this card possess the finest of the quieter qualities. They are ambitious, but only in useful directions. They possess immense funds of affection, kindness, and greatness of heart. They are not intellectual and not particularly intelligent, but instinct and intuition are more than adequate for their needs. These people are quiet, hard-working, practical, sensible, domesticated, often in a reticent and unassuming fashion, lustful and even debauched. They are inclined to the abuse of alcohol and of drugs. It is as if they could only realize their essential happiness by getting outside themselves. If ill-dignified, they are dull, servile, foolish. They are drudges rather than workers. Life for them is purely mechanical, and they cannot rise or even seek to rise above their appointed lot. In the I Ching, the watery part of earth is represented by the 31st hexagram Xian. This has the meaning influence. The commentary describes the effect of moving various parts of the body, from the toes to the jaws and tongue. This is rather an amplification of what has been said above than an exact correspondence. Yet there is no discordance. The general advice is to go forward quietly, without overt attack upon existing situations. We now move to the Prince of Discs. First, we look at the princes in general. Page 150. The princes represent the forces of the letter vowel in the name. The prince is the son of the queen, the old king's daughter, by the knight who has won her. He is therefore represented as in a chariot, going forth to carry out the combined energy of his parents. He is the active issue of their union and its manifestation. He is the intellectual image of their union. His action is consequently more enduring than that of his forebears. In one respect, indeed, he acquires a relative permanence, because he is the published record of what has been done in secret. Also, he is the dying God, redeeming his bride in the hour and by the virtue of his murder. We go to page 286. At the bottom, the Prince of Dis is air of earth, plains, steady bearing of life. Now we go to the Prince of Dis in particular on page 167. The Prince of Dis. The Prince of Dis represents the airy part of earth, indicating the fluorescence and fructification of that element. He rules from the 21st degree of Aries to the 20th degree of Taurus. The figure of this prince is meditative. He is the element of earth become intelligible. Clothed in light armor, his helmet is crowned with the head of a bull, and his chariot is drawn by an ox, this animal being peculiarly sacred to the element of earth. In his left hand he holds his disc, which is an orb resembling a globe, marked with mathematical symbols as if to imply the planning involved in agriculture. In his right hand he bears an orb scepter surmounted by a cross, a symbol of the great work accomplished. For it is his function to bring forth from the material of the element that vegetation which is the sustenance of the spirit itself. The character denoted by this card is that of great energy brought to bear upon the most solid of practical matters. He is energetic and enduring, a capable manager, a steadfast and persevering worker. He is competent, ingenious, thoughtful, cautious, trustworthy, imperturbable. He constantly seeks new uses for common things, and adapts his circumstances to his purpose in a slow, steady, well-thought-out plan. He is lacking almost entirely in emotion. He is somewhat insensitive, and may appear dull, but he is not. It so appears because he makes no effort to understand ideas which are beyond his scope. He may appear stupid, and is inclined to be resentful of more spiritual types. He is slow to anger, but if driven, becomes implacable. It is not very practicable to distinguish between the good and evil dignities of this card. One may merely say that, in the case of his being ill-dignified, both the quality and quantity of his characteristics are somewhat degraded. The reaction of others to him will depend almost entirely upon their own temperaments. In the I Ching, the airy part of earth is represented by the 53rd hexagram Qian. The commentary concerns the flight of wild geese, gradually approaching the shore, then the large rocks, then advancing to the dry plains, the trees, the high mountain, finally to the large heights. It thus symbolizes slow, steady emancipation from repressive conditions. The description is even happier than that given by the Kabbalah, although in every way congruous with it. Practical considerations are never absent from Chinese thought, even at its most abstruse and metaphysical. The fundamental heresy of the Black Lodge is contempt for the world, the flesh, and the devil, all which are essential to the plan of the universe. It is cardinal to the great work for the adept to so order affairs that even the evil germs of matter shall alike become useful and good. The error of Christian mystics on this point has been responsible for more cruelty, misery, and collective insanity than all others put together. Its poison can be traced even in the teachings of Freud, who assumed that the unconscious was the devil, whereas in fact it is the instinct which expresses beneath a veil the inherent point of view of each, and properly understood is the key to initiation. A hint of what seed may blossom and fructify is the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, for every man and every woman is a star. But no doubt the judgment of the adepts exempts, for it is they who determine under the guidance of the masters of the temple all such details of doctrine, and respect of this card has been influenced by its transition from Aries to Taurus. It is too often forgotten that Taurus is the house of Venus, and that Luna is exalted therein. The new doctrine set forth in this present essay makes the primary color of Earth not black, but green. It insists that every disk is a living and revolving symbol. The central thesis of the Book of the Law asserts the perfection of the universe. In its pantheistic conception, all possibilities are equal in value. Each and every point event is a play of Nuit, as it is written in the Book of Wisdom or Folly. Bind nothing, let there be no difference made among you between any one thing and any other thing, for thereby there cometh hurt. But whoso availeth in this, let him be the chief of all. Liber L. 122. Or yet more comprehensively and simply, every number is infinite, there is no difference. And finally, we come to the Princess of Discs. First, we look at the princesses in general. Page 150. The princesses represent the he final of the name. They represent the ultimate issue of the original energy and its completion, its crystallization, its materialization. They also represent the counterbalancing, the reabsorption of the energy. They represent the silence into which all things return. They are thus of the same time permanent and non-existent, an audit of the equation 0 equals 2. The princesses have no zodiacal attribution, yet evidently they represent 4 types of human being. They are those numerous elemental people whom we recognize by their lack of all sense of responsibility, whose moral qualities seem to lack bite. They are subdivided according to planetary predominance. Such types have been repeatedly described in fiction. As Eliphas Levi wrote, the love of the magus for such creatures is insensate and may destroy him. I'm going to read a little further here. The relations between these 4 elements of the name are extraordinarily complex, quite beyond the limits of any ordinary treatise to discuss. They change with every application of thought to their meaning. For instance, no sooner has the princess made her appearance than the prince wins her in marriage, and she is set upon the throne of her mother. She thus awakens the eld of the original old king, who thereupon becomes a young knight, and so renews the cycle. The princess is not only the perfect maiden, but owing to the death of the prince, the forsaken and lamenting widow. All this occurs in the legends characteristic of the Aeon of Osiris. It is hardly possible to definitely disentangle these complications, but for the student it is sufficient if he will be content to work with one legend at a time. It is natural that the Aeon of Osiris, the regimen of air, of strife, of intellect, should be thus confused, that its symbols and formulas should overlap, should contradict each other. It is impossible to harmonize the multitudinous fables or parables, because each was invented to emphasize some formula that was regarded as imperative to serve some local or temporal purpose. There is no elemental attribution. Now, the Princess of Dis in particular, page 169. The Princess of Dis, the last of the court cards, represents the earthy part of Earth. She is consequently on the brink of transfiguration. She is strong and beautiful, with an expression of intense brooding, as if about to become aware of secret wonder. Her crest is the head of the ram, and her scepter descends into the earth. There its head becomes a diamond, the precious stone of Keter, thus symbolizing the birth of the highest and purest light in the deepest and darkest of the elements. She stands within a grove of sacred trees, before an altar suggesting a wheat sheaf, for she is a priestess of Demeter. She bears within her body the secret of the future. Her sublimity is further emphasized by the disk which she bears, for in the center thereof is the Chinese ideogram denoting the twin spiral force of creation in perfect equilibrium. From this is born the rose of Isis, the great fertile mother. The characteristics of an individual signified by this card are too various to enumerate. One must summarize by saying that she is womanhood in its ultimate projection. She contains all characteristics of woman, and it would depend entirely upon the influences to which she is subjected whether one or another becomes manifest. In every case, her attributes will be pure in themselves, and not necessarily connected with any other attributes which in the normal way one regards as symbolic. In one sense, then, her general reputation will be of bewildering inconsistency. It is rather like a lottery wheel from which the extraction of any number does not predict or influence the result of any subsequent operation. The fruit of the philosophy of Thelema is enjoyed, rare, ripe, nourishing, and vitalizing at its highest and fullest in this meditation. For to the adept every turn of the wheel is equally probable and equally a prize, for every event is a play of Nuit. In the I Ching, the earthy part of Earth is represented by the 52nd hexagram Kan. The meaning is a mountain. Of how sublime a significance is this Chinese doctrine of balance, and how closely congruous with that of the Holy Kabbalah. The mountain is the most sacred of all terrestrial symbols, stark, rugged, and immovable in its aspiration to the highest, thrust up as it is by the Titan energy of hidden fire. It is no less a hieroglyph of the inmost Godhead than the phallus itself, even as Capricornus, the sign of the new year, is exalted in the zodiac, its deity Autochthonos no less than the most holy Ancient One himself. It is essential for the student to trace this doctrine for himself in every symbol. Air, the elastic and flexible, yet all-pervading, and the element of combustion. Water, fluid yet incompressible, the most neutral and composed of all components of living matter, yet destructive even of the hardest rocks by physical assault, and irresistible in its burning power of solution. And fire, so kin to spirit that it is not a substance at all, but a phenomenon, yet so integral to matter that it is the very heart and essence of all things soever. The characteristic of Kan in the I Ching is rest. Each line of the comment describes repose in the parts of the body in turn, and their effects, the toes, the calves, the loins, the spine, and the jaws. This chapter is a close parallel in this respect, line by line, with the 31st Hsien, which begins the second section of the Yi. The Rosicrucian doctrine of Tetragrammaton could hardly be more adequately stated, to every ear that is to heavenly harmony attuned. There's not a planet in the firmament, but in this motion like an angel sings, still choiring to the young-eyed cherubim. But while this muddy vesture of decay doth wrap it round, our nature cannot hear it. Let every student of this essay and of this book of Tahuti, this living book that guides man through all time and leads him to eternity at every page, hold fast the simplest, most far-reaching doctrine in his heart and mind, inflaming the inmost of his being, that he also, having explored each recess of the universe, may therein find the light of truth, so come to the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, and accomplish the great work, attain the summum bonum, true wisdom, and perfect happiness. That's the Princess of Dis. We did it. We just went through the whole deck, the whole suit of Dis. So thank you so much for joining me. And now we're going to start cycling through the major arcana, the 22 trumps, looking at where it is on the Tree of Life. And we're going to go into depth. So it's going to be really good. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's, yep, so we got that to look forward to. And we're going to be working through the 22 major arcana. So many more videos to come. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.